I've gotta level with you all here. I kind of love Venom. Like many of you, Venom was by far my favorite Spider-Man villain. I loved watching anything with him as a drool-dribbling child. Whether it be Elliot Hustle in that goofy-ass 90s animated series, making New York citizens my f***meat in Ultimate Spider-Man, or even Dork Venom in Spider-Man 3, he would always manage to be just so fucking cool. His sleek yet overdone design, his edgy persona, and him being the cause of Bully Maguire just created an aura that young me couldn't help but grasp onto and suckle on that sweet Venom teat. It provided for what was truly a most righteous cringe. Well, it seemed like Hollywood executives agreed with me because shortly after the release of Spider-Man 3, rumor began to spread around that Sony was working on a Venom solo movie. So I then began to follow a bunch of, highly uncredible YouTube movie channels for regular information about when Prolapsed Anus Jack would be coming out, but also anything involving this movie. Well, time goes on and nothing happens. For the next several years, there's a void in my heart that could be filled by nothing else but Venom. Fast forward a little bit more, and it's 2018. Kids are eating Tide Pods, Logan Paul is fighting in the war alongside Saddam Hussein, and Steven Spielberg decided to make the second best movie of the year. I am now a grown-ass adult working in a movie theater for my weekly bowl of porridge. And I get word that there's a new Venom movie coming out later that year. I violently shit myself out of both fear and excitement. Or it might have been the IBS, I'm not sure actually. Well, the day of destiny arrived on October 5th that same year, and I was left absolutely flabbergasted. The movie comes out and it is quite possibly one of the funniest things I have ever seen. From that Eminem song that I now know all the lyrics to calling everybody a loser, I memed the out of that movie. And believe me when I say that I have not let up. To me, this movie holds its place at an unbelievably legendary meme status. It's so fucking bad and so unaware of itself that it feels like it was made in that same era as that one Hulk movie and the Elektra movie that came out a while ago, but my god is it entertaining. So imagine my absolute shock when I get word that they were actually going to go through with a sequel for this movie. And with Carnage, no less. I downright shit myself. I love this movie, ironically, and I was going to be able to experience that again. And in my excitement, I ended up getting the 4K Blu-ray of Venom. I watched the trailer for Let There Be Carnage dozens of times, and then I had to sit down and really ask myself just how ironically it was that I enjoyed this stupid movie. What was undoubtedly an ironic excitement for this inevitable piece of shit pretty rapidly started to become an actual anticipation. Next thing you know, Dune and Last Night in Soho be damned, Let There Be Carnage legitimately became my most anticipated movie of the year. So, I bought my tickets for the Thursday before release, and I got them for the earliest time I could. Well, the deed has been done. I am typing this mere moments after having walked out of the theater, and I can no longer say that my love for Venom and its sequel is ironic. For I have watched something that transcends basic human decency and have experienced what I can only describe as an hour-and-a-half long Venom post, ripe with awful comedy, gay Venom, and real crackhead hours Woody Harrelson. I honestly cannot remember a movie that made me scream internally and externally as much as this war crime. I need to get this out of my system. So let's talk about Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Venom, Let There Be Carnage is the latest installment in Sony's funny MCU, a universe only currently shared by Venom and the Joker, which is honestly pretty fitting. Clocking in at only an hour and a half long, this is one of the fastest paced movies I have ever seen. It feels like it's speedrunning through essential plot points and character development. It's great. Having gotten the Eddie Brock and Venom origin story in the first movie, what we get here is essentially the breakup movie. Words that I choose for a very specific reason, but I'll get to that later. But not before leaving their spawn in the body of a man that shamelessly uses the word Carnage so much that I half expected him to break out into a Joker monologue at some point, which he did. Speaking of characters, it's honestly pretty difficult to call them that. Long gone are the days of the ultra-serious comic book movie. What we get now are walking hee-hee factories and running jokes about chickens. Cletus Cassidy is a fascinating character, to say the least, mostly for the fact that he is maybe the most awkward casting choice I have ever seen. I honestly wish they would have kept him looking like Carrot Top, but I digress. The movie starts with his origin at home. Cletus makes a little ring for a girl that he likes, promising that they be together forever. This happening before she hilariously gets taken away and shot in the face. It's like the most generic sad villain story ever, but they somehow managed to f that up too. I love it. From there, he's locked up after having pushed his grandmother down the stairs, throwing a hairdryer in the tub with his mom, and I think the movie even implied that he might have assassinated Archduke Franz Ferdinand, but I'm honestly not too sure on that one. I'll have to look into that. Issue is that he lives in silence until he meets one Eddie Brock, a man that feels like to him, as though to try and make a murderous psychopath sympathetic, I guess. His whole purpose being to send a message to Shriek? Is that her name? So that they can reunite and marry after all this time. Also, apparently to become friends with Eddie, but that's just kind of lame. This movie is all about both unity and dissension. Who said a Venom movie couldn't be emotional? A movie where we literally get a marriage and a breakup, which we might as well get into now because my god, do I want to talk about this. You know how Spider-Man 2 had that whole subplot about not wanting to be a hero anymore and just throwing away his costume? Well, imagine that, but the costume is another character. It starts off a little heated between the two. You know, your typical couple that's been together maybe a bit too long, the one that's staying together only for the children. But when things get sad, when Eddie and Venom find out that Anne and Dan are marrying, Venom actually starts to comfort Eddie and tells him that everything's going to be okay. But eventually Eddie gets so tired of popping people's heads like Pez, and Venom gets so tired of Eddie being such a f***ing loser, that they eventually get into a fight with each other. And keep in mind that they're in the same body, so it looks every bit as goofy as you're imagining right now. Not even the beautiful $2,000 Sony Bravia OLED is safe from their scuffle. This all ends with them breaking up like a messy divorce. Venom leaves Eddie's body and just starts hijacking people, even flipping Eddie the bird on his way out. And I you not when I say that Venom actually says the words, "I am out of the Eddie closet," before giving his "I don't need him" speech in front of an audience. In case you're not getting this and you need me to clarify, there are significant gay undertones in Venom Let There Be Carnage. Screw the undertones of the original Venom, right? Full-on overtones in Venom Let There Be Carnage. Let me repeat, Venom is gay. I mean, Elvira coming out was a huge surprise, but this? Of course, Eddie and Venom reunite all of 2 minutes later, with the help of a returning Tip Venom, might I add, to take down the other couple of Shriek and Carnage. Carnage is having his way with his dad. Holy, I didn't realize that was worded that way. Carnage is having his way with his dad, but he also hates Shriek because of her power, which is essentially just noise being something that the symbiotes don't enjoy very much, and the movie really hammers home to make sure you don't forget. Since Cletus loves Shriek, but Carnage doesn't really, that actually leads to dissension between the two, which opens up a weakness for Venom to kind of exploit. Venom pretty much just pushes Shriek off into the church as the church bell comically lands right on top of her. It's shot like a comedy too, I don't understand. Cletus then rushes in without Carnage, so he just falls straight down too. Same with Eddie and Venom, but they bond again right before the impact. It's worth bringing up that Cletus makes an interesting point of how Eddie Brock never told his side of the story, and only made him out to be nothing more than an unredeemable, crazed serial killer with nothing to offer. Then the movie makes a point of him being an unredeemed, crazed serial killer with nothing to offer, so fuck that message, I guess. And to top it all off, his send-off is Venom literally saying, "Nah, f this guy," and biting his head off as I try with every fiber of my being to not scream of laughter in a theater full of visibly horrified people. One of the most surreal moments of my life, bar none. Possibly one of the absolute best endings to a movie I have ever seen. But the crazy part, in spite of all of that, is that that's not even the best part. The craziest thing that happens in this movie is that Venom is part of the MCU. I say that and I'm still in complete disbelief. Have you watched these movies? They're fucking awful.
You are a loser.
And now we get to see this goofy motherfucker probably fight alongside Spider-Man in No Way Home. Guess Sony had a vision for their beautiful baby when they held Spider-Man hostage a while back ago. There was always a part of me that thought that Venom being a part of the MCU was part of that agreement they reached. But Lord knows I'd never believe it until I saw it. And Christ, did I see it. The unimaginable. Venom and Eddie at the beach teleporting into a new dimension and being greeted by a television broadcast revealing the identity of Spider-Man as Peter Parker. So fair to say that we'll probably be seeing Venom in Spider-Man No Way Home, which I don't think is anything to worry about. It's not like there's ever been a bad Venom in a third Spider-Man movie before. Seriously though, what the actual are they doing with this movie? There is no chance in hell that movie is not going to be a massive mess. Least I can hope is that's enjoyable. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed my fanboying over Venom. Truth be told, I didn't, and still really don't, have a clear reason as to why I made this more than just wanting to talk about this movie and all its hilarity. Literally, the only note I had before I went balls to the wall with this script is, it's a movie, and I think that's honestly pretty much how I'd like to leave it. If there's anything else about this movie and the original Venom that I'd want to say, is that despite the fact that they're straight dog shit, I find myself wanting to go back to it indefinitely more than a Black Widow or a Shang-Chi. It's an odd mix of respect for taking a way different approach, something of a bit of nostalgia for the comic book movies of old when they were insanely goofy monstrosities, and everybody's commitment to just making this work. Seriously, like, props to Tom Hardy for taking this dumbass role and running with it. And it seems like everybody else is responding to it really well, too. Think it managed to get a weekend box office record for the pandemic era, and that's pretty freaking sweet. Wow, okay, this was supposed to be a quick little thing, but it's taken a life of its own. I need to end this. So in case you haven't already, check out my
Patreon.
Support me there for goodies like early content access, voting for videos, drugs. Also, I've been ramping things up on my other channel with funny new content, so give that a watch, please. Aside from that, follow me on Twitter and Twitch in case you really want to throw your time away. And that's about all I've got for you. New stuff coming soon. Goodbye, you're welcome for this outro.
Bizarre in Florida, whose troops left on the folder? Motel then. Dr. Dre said hell yeah, and I got it stamped like a postcard, word to mailman. And I know they're gonna hate, but I don't care, I can barely wait to hit him with the snare and the bass square in the face. This world better prepare to get laced because they're gonna taste my venom.